Hello everybody, my name is Sati Gossett. Welcome to another episode of Pan and Zoom, where filmmakers talk about the craft of filmmaking. Today we're here with the wonderful character actor Mark Rolston, and I guarantee you've seen him in something. Hello Mark, how are you?
Hey Sati, thanks for having me.
Awesome, awesome. So, I mean, you are in the category of that guy when it comes to films, movies, and video games. And what we always like to ask is, how did you get your beginnings? Where did you start? What was when the acting bug hit you?
Yeah, I don't think it was so much the acting bug, but my father was a single parent, 3 children. He kind of announced to all of us that Saturdays was the day he had to pay the bills and clean the house, so we all had to choose something. So my brother chose to play the guitar, my sister decided to dance ballet, and my father had taken us to the theater. The Arena Stage in Washington, D.C. was nearby. The Washington Theater Club was a great fringe theater company, and found out that Washington Theater Club had a Saturday morning into afternoon children's workshop. So at the age of 9, I would take a bus all the way from Bethesda, Maryland, all the way into downtown D.C., just near DuPont Circle, and go to the Washington Theater Club. And then it was then that, all actors get a response. And people were like, hey, you're funny, you're good. And continued on there for a while. I was actually asked to turn professional when I was a child with the Arena Stage, but my father nixed that. He said, no, I'm not going to have you do that. You need to finish your education. And then if you want to decide to be an actor, you can be an actor.
Awesome. Did you do it in college? Did you study theater arts in college?
Well, that was the thing. It was like an elective in high school. I participated in a production of Twelfth Night.
Oh, wow.
And then got to college, and in fact, I heard your other guest, Nikki, talk about how she wanted to get an easy A. So, the same thing for me. It was like, oh, Theater 101, easy A, I'll do that, because I was actually a philosophy major. And that's when I got bit, because just to do the requisite things for the course, you either had to build the sets, or act in the thing, or support somehow. And I auditioned and got the lead in Bus Stop, William Inge's Bus Stop, and I played Bo Decker, and that was it.
And that's all she wrote. Did you go to New York, kind of chase your dreams, or what did you do after that?
No, it was really interesting. The head professor there, Dr. Press, was a real Stanislavski aficionado, so he'd started me off in method acting. But one day, walking through the Student Union building, I saw a little placard that said, study abroad. And I thought, wow, that could be kind of cool for my junior year. Sent off the little sheet of paper and got a prospectus back that said that I could study at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. So I was like, I'm down. I'm going to go to London. This is the place to study. I get there, and none of that was true.
What happened?
It was just a complete ruse. I mean, they'd written something in the prospectus, really poorly worded, and had me believing that I would in fact be able to, and there was no chance. But, as serendipity would have it, the woman who was running the program, her husband, Anton Rogers, was a fairly prominent television and stage actor, and he had come in to direct us in some Chekhov one-acts. And at which point, again, some recognition from somebody else, and he said, what are you going to do when you finish this year abroad? I thought I'd just go back to America and finish out my degree, and he went, no, you're not going to do that. He said, you're a real actor, you're going to stay in England, and you're going to get trained properly.
Wow.
So he coached me through my auditions. I got into every school except for the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art.
Ironic.
Yeah. And then I went to a place called the Drama Center, which is famous for like Colin Firth, Michael Fassbender, Tom Hardy, and me, and amongst others.
What technical aspects did you learn and from, I guess, the Brits?
Yeah. Well, our particular school was very, very unique because we were the only sort of method-based school in all of England. So we had a teacher called Dorian Cannon, who was a protege of, I'm blanking. It'll come to me. But she was a strict method teacher from New York City. But then we also had John Blatchley, who was a director of the RSC and the English National Opera. So he was really teaching us the sort of real British classical style. But then we had his wife who taught us mime and more of the European, like French influence. So it was a really well-rounded training, but the essence of the training was something called, it was actually developed by one of our teachers, Jan Malmgren, who had been a dancer and was a soloist, but he eventually hooked up with a guy called Scott Carpenter, who was a philosopher and Jungian, and they developed this movement psychology. So it's based in Jungian psychology, but it's all about archetypes. Mm-hmm. So, but it's very, very precise, and the whole essence of the training was that we would be, if we made it to the final year, because back when I went to drama school, there was a cut.
So it's like Survivor.
Totally. No, really, for real. 60 of us started and 16 finished. Yeah. And when you got to the performance year, not only did you get to perform, but you had to do these things with the movement psychology. You had to create and write 6 different characters.
Wow. So there's some elements of improv.
Yeah, but this was actually scripted.
Okay.
Yeah. But to get there, and if you could do all 6 archetypes, that was pretty wild and crazy. I only managed 4 because Yat, our teacher, was very, very precise in saying who could actually perform a certain piece if they achieved the archetype completely.
So was it for a panel of judges or just?
No, no. The actual performance was for the public, but to get to the performance, Yat was
he had to endorse you.
Yeah, the
basically.
final arbiter.
So were there like talent scouts in the audience for the final?
Yeah, the final performances. Yeah, directors of theaters from all over England. Yeah, it was a real springboard, and quite a few of the people that I was in school with ended up going to, the Glasgow Repertory Theatre Company and other theatre companies around England. I was lucky enough to sort of segue directly into film. Yeah.
So what would you consider your kind of big break as far as film or TV? Because I know...
Well, my biggest break was Aliens.
Yes.
But getting to Aliens, just a little brief segue, was I'd done a movie with Al Pacino called Revolution, directed by Hugh Hudson.
Okay.
And when I was interviewed for Aliens, Gail Ann Hurd, James Cameron's then wife, asked the proverbial question, so what have you been doing? Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, well, I just finished this movie with Al Pacino. And I don't know what possessed me, but I went into the longest yarn of my life. And I made it sound as though I had the next best role to Al Pacino. and it worked. Mm-hmm. I mean, 2 weeks later, I was meeting Jim and we were reading. And then 3 weeks after that, I got hauled into Pinewood Studios where Cameron had his office. And they finally handed me the script and said, we want you to be Drake. And with one caveat is that you have to bulk up. And
how much weight did you have to gain?
I ended up gaining 45 pounds.
Of muscle?
Muscle. I was ripped. But I trained for like 4 months. Morning, they send a driver for me. I'd go there just pumping all day. They had this northern England, he was actually a farmer, but he was actually the muscle behind the power loader. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, like a little bit of kabuki theater. He was all dressed in black, but he was moving Sigourney around in the power loader.
Oh, wow.
And he had me at one point, I was lifting 80-pound dumbbells, doing flies in each hand. So I was ripped. I got big. But as an actor, I didn't want to be Arnold or Vin Diesel. So I pretty much let it go. I mean, I still stay in shape, but I thought it'd be limiting, because I really am a character actor. Never had any illusion that I was Brad Pitt or Tom Cruise. I pride myself on transformation, which is what they taught us at Drama Center.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the essence of what a character actor is. And working with people like Pacino, who is obviously a quote-unquote star, what do you see as the difference between what you do versus what he does? Or did you glean anything from someone like him? Because you work with some, I guess, big movie stars.
Yeah.
And, it is a collaborative process working on set with other actors. So, do you glean anything off of other actors as far as what they do technique-wise? Or it's like, oh, that's cool, I'm gonna use that? And
well, the only time ever I've really gleaned something from somebody and have used it is chatting with Morgan Freeman on the set of Shawshank, and literally just said, my first question was, hey, when is it that the powers that be get you and what you do? And he told me his whole life story, which is fascinating.
Yeah, because didn't his big break happen in like 52 or something like that? And,
well,
I know he did
much
Street
later.
Smart. Have you seen Street
Oh,
Smart?
God, yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh God, yeah.
Scary.
Well, but you know the story about that. He was driving a cab in New York City, couldn't get arrested after an electric company, had a fare that took him directly outside the building where his reading was supposed to be. And he had the script with him, and he thought, man, I haven't worked on this, but screw it. I'm going to cold read it.
Right.
So he cold read for that.
Wow.
And remembering that role, I mean, that was one
he
of
was
the scariest roles.
He was terrifying.
Oh my God. Like the scissors to the eyeball, that was... But
Yeah.
but then the other thing Morgan gave me that I use to this day is he said, it's all about talking. It's just hang in the frame and talk. And that's really been the essence of what I try to do. And I achieved it best early on in my career, so it's something that I can roll into now. But when I did my audition for Shawshank, it was like I came at it, I didn't know if I'd get it or not, and that's another story in itself. But I remember leaving going, I did it. I found it.
Yeah, there's something freeing in that when, I don't want to say you don't care, but you don't care about the results, and you just kind of go in and do what you do. And I saw a video with Bryan Cranston saying, your job is not the role, your job is the audition.
Mm-hmm.
And you go in and do the audition the best you can, and then you leave it alone. And, and that means being present instead of being so hung up on the outcome.
Totally, yeah.
And, when he says talking, it's just like, don't worry about if the scene is good or not. You just do the scene, live the scene.
Right. Very much.
And that seems to be something that you do, because I don't want to say you're invisible, but you're also kind of omnipresent in every role that you're in, at least the roles that I've seen, from Boggs to your character in The Departed or Star Trek or whatever. You're just kind of like, and that's kind of the essence of that guy, like familiar but not unfamiliar.
Yeah, I try and, I lose myself in roles, and certainly when you're present in the scene, you have to be thinking, but you have to be thinking like the character.
Mm-hmm.
But I love transforming to the point where people don't even know it's you. I played an admiral in the film Midway, and a buddy of mine, who's a former Marine, he called me afterward, and he was like, I don't believe it. I was watching that movie and I didn't even know it was you. Till afterward, I saw the credits and it was like, oh Jesus, So it's great fun.
It's funny how your friends get mad at you because you didn't tell them they were in the role. They say, how come you didn't tell me?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and so as far as, working with actors, also, what's it like working with directors, and their demands, from obviously Jim Cameron's the big one to Scorsese? Like, what do they demand of you or not demand of you as an actor?
Well, I'd say the most exacting is probably Jim. He's an absolute genius. I will say, though, I don't think he's necessarily an actor's director. He's a visionary. He's a technician. He knows what he wants. So he would certainly, if you were doing something he didn't like, he'd tell you. But he kind of let me go free in that. And whereas, say, Scorsese, he's in and around all the time and very, very creative. Like, I'll never forget, we were doing this scene outside the restaurant, me and David O'Hara.
Was that the one is like,
he's a
cop. He's a cop. It's a fantastic thing.
So we'd worked the scene, and Marty was enjoying it, and he came out and he was like, okay, guys, never do this. Do me a take, just cuss like crazy. Just say anything you want, just cuss. Because he loves people who cuss.
Yeah,
or characters
I
that cuss.
kind of picked up on that.
Yeah. And O'Hara and I, man, we got on a roll, and we got blue, and to the point where Scorsese came out of the video village, and he was like, all right, cut it, stop it, you're killing me, stop. We had such a good time.
I would love to see those outtakes.
Oh my God, yeah.
But it's nice, whereas Cameron sees you kind of almost like a cog in the machine, where Scorsese, and I've heard it from other people that he's kind of the ultimate collaborator. Like he invites ideas,
Oh yeah.
anyone can kind of pitch in their 2 cents
Yeah.
because as a director, and different directors have different styles, obviously. As far as your career path has gone, has there been any, I don't want to say signature moments, but moments where like, do you feel like Aliens was the moment where you kind of quote unquote made it, or was there another role?
No, Aliens fit into place in my journey in terms of, I always knew in the back of my head if I was going to get to Hollywood, I'd have to do it on the heels of a hit movie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I still didn't know Aliens was going to be a hit movie. I knew it was a big movie, but it was only at the behest of Bill Paxton, who harassed me. Just say he harassed me.
How so?
Oh man, he called me every week. Every single week. Mark, dude, you gotta come. It's gonna be huge, man. You can't miss it. And I said, Bill, yeah, but my kid's little and I don't know, I'm working. And he was like, no, man. And then he finally got me, said, I'll give you my apartment. You can stay in my apartment. And so I was like, all right, okay. I booked the tickets and I never went back to England.
Wow.
5 days after going to the premiere of Aliens, I'm starring in a movie with Lance Henriksen. A movie called Survival Quest. It's a great cast. Catherine Keener, Dermot Mulrooney, Paul Provenza. So it's part of the serendipitous aspect of anybody's life and career. It's like stuff shows up and you have to be open enough to recognize it and walk through the door and do your thing.
Mm-hmm. And you've been able to parlay it not only to movies but TV, but also voiceover work. Mm-hmm. How is acting differ? Like with your voice versus TV. I mean, TV and film's kind of the same, but the voice work, because you've built up some wonderful credits in voice work as well.
Yeah, I mean, my first professional job, they'd been scanning the acting schools in London to find an American youth. Mm-hmm. And I got the job revoicing Jackie Chan in Drunken Monkey and Drunken Master. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was trained by a man who was like this sort of preeminent dubbing director probably in the world, Louis Ellman. And I'm an expert dubber. I do it. In fact, I was just doing a show this past week. I love it. It's more freeing because it isn't about this, you know. And I've always been a mimic, so I love doing voices. But as far as work, oh God, it's the best. I love voice work.
Because it's only a couple hours in the studio, and then you have the rest of your day, and residuals and all that fun stuff.
It's the gravy train.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of gravy train, certain actors, they get significant roles, and then they get to do things like autograph conventions. What's that been like, with interacting with fans, going to autograph conventions like Comic-Con and wherever? What is that like?
It's the people that attend cons are a certain type of people.
Yes.
And but I've always just sat back and recognized that if it wasn't for these people, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. And it can be a lot of fun. The biggest thing is that mainly I do shows with the cast of Aliens. Mm-hmm. And that's the only movie in my whole career where we're actually genuinely friends and we actually hang out and see each other. And so for me to go off to do a con with, Michael Biehn and Jeanette Goldstein and Bill Hope, it's just...
it's like a reunion.
It is. It's a lot of fun. Like we always got together well. And it's really the only movie in my entire career that's true. I mean, I love all the guys in Shawshank. Shawshank was probably the best experience in terms of being on a film because we rehearsed. We were in this one street, one town center town in the Midwest, and it was all about the movie. And we knew it was a great script, but oh my gosh, we just the amazing prison that we shot in.
Now, was that prison? Where was it shot?
Mansfield, Ohio.
Ohio, not Maine.
No, not Maine.
And I remember we were talking about, I guess, the expression of the characters in Shawshank and how, I don't want to say the main character actor, but, he had some, he took a little umbrage to how the character was expressed towards him. meaning the relationship between Boggs and Dufresne.
Right.
You know, how important is it for you to stick to the script versus liberties taken as far as the expression of the character? Or does it depend on the director?
It depends on the director.
Mm-hmm.
The words in Shawshank were so well done that there wasn't a lot of improv going on. Whereas in Aliens, Bill Paxton tried to improvise every single day.
It felt like it.
Yeah, and then Jim would come in and go, "All right, Bill, don't say that. Say the other thing, but don't say that." You know, he was constantly having to monitor Bill, but that's just Bill's enthusiasm, you know, and love for filmmaking. But yeah, it's interesting. Even Scorsese was like, you know, if you had a really good reason to offer something up, but basically he wanted it as written. In fact, we went through a whole huge thing where Jack Nicholson who fancies himself a writer.
Mm-hmm.
He was rewriting The Departed throughout the shoot. You know, this is an interesting anecdote. I kept getting pages where my death scene, which was really like a page and a half, was dwindled down to like a paragraph of this. And I'd come onto the set and Jack would be like, "Hey, did you like what I did for you? You like that change in the scene?" And I'd just go,
No.
"What's all this about?" So I finally cornered Bill Monahan. I said, "Bill," the writer, I said, "What the hell's going on, man?
Yeah.
The scene's been decimated." He's like, "That's Jack." And Bill was pissed off about it. But he said, "Look, the whole deal is if we don't mollify him, they're afraid he's going to walk the set." I was like, "Oh gosh." So I was going back and forth, LA to Boston and New York, and I'm coming back at the very end of the shoot to shoot the death scene, which is the meat of my character. And I got in the hotel, and then soon after, envelope slid under the door that said, in black marker, "This is the scene, as per Marty," triple underlined, and the scene had been restored. And then I finally learned that Marty wasn't a big fan of Jack's because he was
being Jack. In a sense.
Yeah.
And
stepping on some toes.
it happens.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, your scene was they deleted a large part of your scene, I think, because it's a deleted scene where you talk about you're dying, and then
No, it's there.
there,
Yeah.
no,
No.
because they say deleted scene, and then there's a part where you're talking about, because it turns out that you're an undercover cop too, correct?
Well, no, that was a manipulation.
Okay.
Yeah, what happened was there was no deleted scene. Gosh, we better not be. I mean, we shot that was the moment of my life. We shot 10,000 feet of film.
Wow.
In a day. And Joe Reedy, Marty's first, said, "Hey, listen, Marty's loving everything. He just wants to know, do you have anything else you want to do?" And I'm thinking, wait a second, man, we just shot 10,000 feet of film. It's like, I would be a real jerk to say, "Oh, yes, give me another take," and then not do anything with it. So I said, "Is Marty happy?" He goes, "He's really happy." I said, "I'm happy too."
There you go.
So we ended that one. But leave me back in there. I forgot where I was going to go with that.
No, I mean, I guess I got fooled because you would see like on YouTube, it's like, this is a deleted scene. It's like, oh, let me ask him about the deleted scene.
Yeah. So this is it. So what happened was throughout the shoot, Marty kept saying to me, he said, "Mark, cop, not a cop." I was like, "Not a cop, no way. You know, we're neighborhood. We're in the gang." But Marty edited that movie for a year.
Really?
A year. And the biggest manipulation was when he decided he was going to put up that newscast blurb with my picture saying I was a cop.
Wow.
But I wasn't really, he was using that as a ruse to win over Costello and loosen up Costello's sense of protection.
Because he was on DiCaprio's Sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's a fun movie. I mean.
It's incredible movie.
Incredible movie, yeah.
I remember the first time I read it, I was sitting in the living room with my wife, and when I got to my death scene, and then each subsequent page, it was like somebody's dying every page, and I kept saying, "Oh my God." And she was like, "What are you oh my Godding about?" I said, "This is crazy. Somebody dies every single page, and they kill the hero. What the heck?" It was something.
Yeah. So what's next for you that you're allowed to talk about?
Right. Well, I'm sort of segue into a lot of the gaming world. I imagine I can talk about it, but I'm in the Spider-Man franchise. I played Norman Osborn. I love the gaming world. It's like doing theater in the round, because there's so many cameras all around you.
Because they got all the, do they put the
Yeah, the
markers
whole
on your
gear.
face and
Yeah.
the scan and everything?
Yeah, but soon that'll all go away. That won't even be anymore.
What do you think? It'll just be all kind of AI generated?
Yeah,
type
well,
thing?
not necessarily AI generated, but even the cameras they've got like 4K, 40 cameras that won't even require you to have the dots for the computer reference. So I really enjoy that work. Luckily, in the midst of the strike, there's a waiver, so I can actually shoot a little movie. So I'm shooting a movie with the cast and crew of Bosch, which I am still recurring on, even though last season they went out into the streets, so my character is relegated to the station. So, but Titus Welver said I'll be back on that for the third season, so it's great. I mean, I float. I do numerous different things.
No, you got to have a lot of irons in the fire, and you're fortunate that you've been able to hop from space to pace and build this great career. One thing I like to ask is, if anyone's starting out, like what kind of advice or wisdom would you impart to someone trying to make it in the biz per se?
Number one, I would say is don't quit.
Okay.
Because you quit in this business, they don't care. Nobody cares.
Yeah, they got 10 people behind you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I would also say, given where we are at this moment in the industry, is that get really acquainted with all the technology, because I can see the technology is going to start to rule the way in which films get made and produced. And in the midst of the strike, I personally think that it's going to be a long, hard slog, but I also think that there's going to be a quantum shift in production. It hurts my heart because I'm a movie guy. I love independent film, and I don't know. I just see corporations having taken over the major studios and networks. Is that they're just we're gonna be seeing a whole lot of DC and Marvel and Mattel. We're gonna see a lot of Mattel.
Right.
With the success of Barbie. You watch.
Yeah, Barbie.
There's going to be a Ken movie.
A Ken spinoff.
There will be.
A Ken spinoff.
I'll bet $1 million on it.
It's like I never had any Barbie dolls, but I probably should have kept one if I'd known it was going to be this successful.
Right.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I think we're about to wrap things up.
All right.
It's been a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks.
Been a fan of your movies for a long time. And we look forward to what you have coming up next.
Yeah.
And regardless of how the technology changes, I'm pretty sure you're going to have your foot in something.
As long as I'm walking and talking, I'll be cool.
All right. I'd like to thank my guest, Mark Rolston. It's been a wonderful time. Just great stories. My name is Sati Gossett. This is Pan and Zoom. Come back for another episode. Keep on filming.